Yo, what's good YouTube? It's Boardzy and happy 2025. This is going to be the yearly tradition of the Seal of Approval Roundup, looking at the best products of all types, but this is mostly going to be mice, a few mouse pads, few keyboards, one monitor. But yeah, there's actually going to be tiers of the mouse seal of approval because I'll admit it got kind of diluted over the year. So yeah, I'm going to start with the best of the best, then get to some stuff that probably didn't deserve the seal of approval. In my opinion, the top three releases of the year were the Viper V3 Pro, the Maya X, and the Endgame Gear XM2W. This is what I'm using as my main currently. And yeah, great thing about the seal of approval roundup is that I have posted full reviews for all of these mice, so I'm not going to speak about them at great length because I gave around 20 mice the seal of approval, so I got to be pretty quick. But yeah, Lambzu Maya, it's basically a 45 gram modified GPX style shape. It's not a clone by any means, but it's a similar size range. It's a very safe shape, and I've heard a lot of comments, viewer testimonials, people saying they would never go back to the GPX after feeling the Maya X. And yeah, I don't feel that strongly about it, but I totally understand why, if you're bought into lighter mice, you have like medium to large hands, why this would be one of your picks. It's really good from like side buttons, coding, main click, sensor implementation, stock skates. Like, there's really not much to complain about with this mouse, and it comes in at $120 as opposed to $160 on something like the Viper V3 Pro or like the typical flagship price. So yeah, when the Viper V3 Pro released, it was pretty much instantly my main, and I felt it was significantly ahead of the rest of the market, but just pretty much right once it released, mice like the BeastX Max came out, and then the Maya X shortly after, and then the market just kind of caught up. The release of the 3950 sensor, which had been a Razer exclusive, yeah, just allowed companies to produce really top-tier mice at lower prices. So the Viper V3 Pro, well, if you got one and you have larger hands, you enjoy the shape, it's absolutely a top pick. It's not like the only direction I recommend people to go at this point. Another mouse, the XM2W 4K, it's just a better shape for me personally. I prefer the way it flares out towards the back of the mouse. The length of the Viper V3 Pro is something that turned off a lot of people, and I can use the shape just fine. I could access the side buttons easily in Fortnite. The tactility of the clicks isn't my favorite, but there's no issues with the quality. Like, it's a good low response, fast actuation click. So yeah, it's pretty much where I stand. If I had to pick three mice from 2024 to like continue to main, it would probably be these three just for my preferences, but I don't think the Viper V3 Pro does anything that other mice cannot. Now, if I had to pick like just a tier below that, some pretty based releases, it would be WLmouse, both the BeastX Max and the Mini. I actually gave away my Mini, so I don't have it anymore, but if you want like a ULX small, really low profile, low weight alternative, that is an option. The one thing that holds down the BeastX Max and just all of the BeastX lineup are the slits in the side. Some people cope with them, some people put grip tape. Honestly, wait, why have I not put on the Boardzy Zebra grip tape collab dropping soon on this mouse to fix my issues? That would have been a smart idea. Yeah, I mean, WLmouse, you just gotta give them credit where it's due. They are the imitation Final Mouse company. If you want a magnesium mouse that's gonna get you close to the Final Mouse experience at a lower price in stock, that's what WLmouse is pretty much in the market for. The SwordX, that's a mouse I don't really look at as positively. I'll get to it later on. And the Ying, I have not had an opportunity to try, but really all the versions of the BeastX, like, I can speak positively about them. Nothing massively wrong. And also another mouse that revolutionized mice in 2024 was the OP18k. I mean, you are looking at a wire on a mouse, and it's not automatically disregarded. Like, this is the Aimer mouse. This mouse really changed the way the market at large views click latency, and given that it's a wired 8K polling mouse, it's bound to have some of the best technical performance. Endgame Gear is a good company. The build quality is great on this. It has hot swap switches even, and it was available for $75. So if you can put up with the wire under $100, this is absolutely one of the best small mice. But yeah, the main thing I warn people about with the OP1K is just how narrow the shape is. So if you are used to a more wide mouse and you have large hands, anything besides fingertip, I will pretty much say is a no-go. I have been putting a good amount of testing on the OP1 wireless 4K, and yeah, claw gripping this, it just feels so much less secure and natural for my hand compared to the XM2. So they do make a wired XM2 as well, if you want the similar tech and performance at the cheaper price. But yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say for Endgame Gear. They had a pretty good year, in my opinion. And yeah, next up is the Sora V2. This is another small mouse that really changed up the industry, but it's not something I ever put a lot of time onto or used as my main. And the big thing about this is it opened up the floodgates to the 40 gram small small claw grip mouse, but at this point I don't feel like it really separates itself or offers anything that the rest of the market doesn't. Funny enough, Ninjutsu actually collabed with Vaxee, where Vaxee produces their mouse, but they're working with the original Sora shape, and I've been testing this a lot. I enjoy this more than I ever liked the Sora V2. But yeah, the shape on this, it just feels like a mini XM1 without as much personality and a slightly worse coating, so I will retroactively like give the seal of approval to this. It is $140 as well, but you are paying for the Vaxee just quality and experience, and the click feeling is so much softer, lighter, nicer than the Omron optical implementation that I had with the Sora V2. So yeah, the Sora V2 currently, was it $100? You can pay more for a higher pulling dongle. That's like, it's just in a very saturated market. It wouldn't be my first choice if you're looking for a small claw mouse, but if you have one, you enjoy it, it's still totally fine. But yeah, there are plenty of other mice that do outspec it, like the Scyrox mice, the V6 and the V8. These are from Lamzoo's sub-brand that is actually confirmed, and they're just essentially clones of other popular shapes. And yeah, the Scyrox V8 is practically an elongated Pulsar X2H Mini. Some people say it's in between both sizes, but I don't think those people understand how big the size 2 X2H is. But yeah, this is $70 for a 40-gram version of that shape. With a 3950 web-based software, Omron opticals, and that is my big issue. Once again, you see just how much side-to-side wobble there is on some of these mice. It's just kind of ridiculous. So if they did tighten that up and just improve the click implementation a bit overall, I mean, that would be nice. I mean, this mouse is $70. If you're looking for something light and just serviceable that performs like a $100 plus mouse, this is honestly one of those. And if you're not a fan of the shape, which is very like, it's a high back hump, it's not the safest shape, especially if you aren't claw gripping, you could go for the Scyrox V6. This is their rip of the Gwolves HT-S Plus, and it's a more like center humped mouse. It is still high profile feeling in your hand. It's like a short and stubby shape. People kind of call it a GPX Mini. They did not address like the side-to-side wobbling. I know it's not a major deal for some people, but just really like the cheap Chinese mouse click feeling, it does bother me, so I know it's something that they can address, and it's one of my only nitpicks with these mice. Yeah, I can only speak to my units, but from Scyrox, the build quality, wireless implementation, it's been very solid. Their coatings, I would say, are like maybe 10% worse than like a really good rubberized coating, but again, nothing unusable. So yeah, I'd say Scyrox mice, they're some of the best budget mice on the market that released this year. Now, one of the mice that I don't really love going into 2025, the Gwolves HT-S2. And the thing with Gwolves is they just always have some mouse in the works that is like way lighter, way more innovative, and it just kind of puts a damper on their current like $130 plus offerings. What I like about this is that the sensor position is really high, and this is a unique design as a fingertip shape. I know if you have like really small hands, then you might enjoy it for claw more, but yeah, for me, this is not something I can claw or really use in Fortnite, but I do like the flaring out on both sides very aggressively for how I fingertip grip on such a light mouse. I was able to like play Kovacs well with it, but that's kind of where it stopped for me. Yeah, quality-wise, this is impressive. Like, you would expect it to be somewhat flimsy, but not at all. And there's also very minimal side-to-side wobbling. But it just, Gwolves mice always just feel like prototypes for, like, a future version that's going to be better. So I wouldn't recommend people to spend a ton on this. But if it does really appeal to you, then I think it's a top-tier mouse. Okay, now we have reached the ergo section. I would say I don't personally use the Deathadder V3 Hyperspeed or the WLmouse SwordX that much. Rather, they just fill holes in the market that I acknowledge exist. With the SwordX, I'm not a big fan of the side button positioning. They're very high. I don't like how low the sensor position is. I don't like the fact that there isn't a rubberized coating. But if you do want like a large EC magnesium shape, oh yeah, I also don't love the holes. But I mean, yeah, this is one of the cheaper magnesium ergos on the market with a 3950. It's just not the popular style of mouse that most people want. The Deathadder V3 Hyperspeed, this is a little bit too small for me, but this is Razer's like globally available mini Deathadder V3 shape. They don't call it the mini, they call it the Hyperspeed. It makes no sense, but this is much smaller than any large ergo or the Deathadder V3. And yeah, with ergos, it's really the width of the body that matters a lot and just the general height. And you can see compared to the Vaxee E1, which is like a take on the classic EC2, the Hyperspeed smaller. So if you do have small hands, want a small ergo from Razer, go for this. Surprisingly, this doesn't have like Razer's best sensor, but it's still implemented well. E1 is probably my favorite ergo of the year. It's very hard for me to decide if I like it more than the GPX Dex. The Dex, the shape feels like a better fit for my hand, but I do like that the E1 is slightly smaller, feels a bit more nimble. I've never been like an EC2 truther, but with this weight, just the button feeling, the quality, I really enjoy my time on this mouse. So I do think, I mean, it's pretty safe for palm grip or even like some type of aggressive claw grip, presuming your hand is large enough. But yeah, even if you do like your hand is a fit for this, it may not be the style of shape you're looking for. But yeah, I honestly don't hate that Logitech released this instead of the G703, especially after trying the Pulsar X3 and not really enjoying it that much. And I did see they lowered the price to $140, which is what the E1 costs as well. So I guess that's just the price you have to pay for a truly top tier 2024 ergo, in my opinion. Also, moving on from these ergos, there's the Vaxee NP01, the standard one, which this is asymmetrical. It can kind of be considered an ergo. And yeah, this mouse is kind of bizarre, and I actually mained it for a few months. This weighs in at 72 grams, which is an almost unbelievable number to some of you guys. And this is where I really learned earlier in the year that like if you're making a lot of palm contact and the mouse is extremely well balanced, the weight number, it doesn't really matter that much. And that's something I still believe, but Vaxee is releasing this new NP01S, which is a smaller version of the shape. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but this is much lighter than the 72 gram weight. Yeah, I just feel like it's better. I know I main the XM2W, which is in the low 60s, but I mean, when I use this mouse, I'm like, wow, this has some real bulk to it. But at the same time, if you use a speed pad, just raise your sense, you can absolutely adjust to it. And I see how somebody could prefer this for the increased stability. But yeah, this is not the Vaxee mouse that I would be steering somebody towards at this point. There'll probably come out with a revised version in the coming months, but yeah, it's still definitely serviceable. But yeah, that was a weird phase when I was maining this. The market was in a dry place for some time. Now what do I talk about? I actually have no idea. Oh yeah, the Vaxee XE-S. This is a mouse that I really don't know why I gave the seal of approval to. I just hated the shape, and I still don't think it's a great shape. It's very low profile. It's just like a directly scaled down version of the Vaxee XE, which I don't know if that's a super popular shape. But yeah, this one I would not recommend paying $140 for, and that's not only because it's a small, low profile 60 gram mouse, it's just like I don't think the shape principles are good, at least for my hand size. And yeah, I think that's a mouse that Vaxee kind of pivoted off of, because you can see in the model name, it says XES wireless on the Sora. So I don't know if they just like move their small mouse operations over to this shape or what. And yeah, next up are going to be some budget mice that got the seal of approval. The Zalpin Z2, this is a 64 gram, I mean, oh wait, this is another ergo. It's like, it's a mediocre shape. That's really where it loses me. The lack of any thumb curvature, just how flat this is. It's not an unusable mouse, but for like $50, it's a very good deal. So I gave this one the budget seal of approval, or at least I did in my mind. Maybe it got the official seal of approval, which is similar to how I feel about the R1 Pro and the VXE Mad R. The Mad R is just a directly improved, like, newer version of the R1 Pro. My R1 Pro, I like kind of stopped using it, and it developed like really bad like click creaking, and the click quality just like went to shit without me even clicking it somehow. But yeah, the Mad R, I don't have as much bad to say about the quality. The build quality seems really good. Not any issues with the Omron opticals. Like, it's not a fucking Vaxee click feeling, but yeah, it's totally serviceable for a $50 mouse. I do have the $33.95 version, but yeah, $39.50, it's probably going to work as well. I just don't like the shape very much. It's like kind of a bad version of the Pulsar X2. But yeah, considering this weighs 40 grams, you can get one for $40. It's just an unreal deal. So if you are in that $50 range, I'd recommend that, or the Zalpin Z2 if you do want something a bit larger and heavier. We are getting towards the end of this video. The Waizowl Cloud. This is a large mouse. Good specs, good price, but it's the unfortunate thing is that the shape is just not a popular modern design. And yeah, this mouse is a modernized version of the SteelSeries Sensei, and if that's a shape used in the past, you want a lightweight version, like, you have struck gold with this. But it's just an awkward feeling mouse in my hand, at least. It's just very wide, very long, but it's not like I just prefer the back of a lot of other claw grip shapes compared to this. Yeah, as you can see, it does not have like a super high profile back hump. So yeah, this is just another one of those mice where if you like the shape, you'll love it, but not a super widespread recommendation. But Waizowl's mice are seriously impressive quality and build wise. They're one of the more underrated companies, and I did hear they're making a mini version of this mouse. Now the Zowie U2, I gave this the seal of approval very early on in the year. It was like one of the first mice to drop, and now they have made an updated DW version for this with 4K polling. I haven't tried that one. The old U2 with 1K, it still is a very good like quality experience, a good shape. So if you can find one for a good discount, it might be worth picking up. But yeah, the U2, it's a good Zowie shape. I did have a better time with the Zowie S2 DW. So I probably will give that one the retroactive seal of approval from Zowie's new lineup. I gave the ZA13 away, and I didn't really enjoy the FK2 shape that much. The click latency and the weight, I agree, they both should be lower. After putting a lot of time on this mouse, I just can't say I enjoy it more than something like the XM2W, but it's honestly close. Yeah, Zowie, they're actually updating their lineup. They're making strides in that regard, but for the price they charge, $150, you would expect just slightly more modern features. I will give you that. And yeah, to end this video off, I'm going to crown 2 more mice with the seal of approval to make the small mouse using community happy, because yeah, these mice honestly deserve it. Both the Hitscan Hyperlight and the ATK F1 Extreme. I was kind of hard on the Hitscan Hyperlight. I came to accept that, yeah, 40 grams for a well-built small mouse, high sensor position, not a Viper Mini clone, but Viper Mini like and Viper Mini size. I honestly prefer this to the Viper Mini signature, and it is so much cheaper. Same thing goes, like it's a solid-sided plastic mouse that weighs around the same as WLmouse Final Mouse. I mean, it is a handful of grams heavier, but you get what I'm saying. The ATK F1 Extreme, on the other hand, is available for cheaper with a higher polling rate dongle. It is lighter, so you would think it just like it mogs it, it's all around better. I mean, it's a toss-up. For fingertip, I feel like you could prefer either one of these shapes. Principle, like I guess the Hitscan Hyperlight does have slightly more flat sides compared to the ATK F1 Extreme, but again, it's not something that's like going to make or break the mouse. Both of these for my hand, I would prefer something larger for claw grip. But yeah, what it comes down to is if you want to support American enterprise, you will pay up to get the Hitscan Hyperlight, but if you don't care about ethics, you're fine with ATK stealing the shape and just making it lighter. Then this is probably the objectively better value. But yeah, both of these for the price they're at, some of the best small mice on the market. I do understand that. That's why they are featured in this video. So yeah, the main takeaway is that I gave way too many mice the seal of approval this year. Next year, the goal is going to be no more than 12. You know, 1 a month. I feel like that is a good pace. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous. But yet something I've come to realize is hard to balance, because if a mouse is really good spec-wise and quality-wise, I just don't like the shape, should I not give it the seal of approval? I get so many comments that are like, oh, I'm only buying it if it gets the seal of approval. I don't know if people are just saying that or if they believe it, but you know, it's a complicated matter. As for keyboards, mouse pads, and monitors, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I gave the Type 99 and the Artisan Key 83 the seal of approval this year. There were plenty of good mouse pads that came through, but nothing revolutionary. I really need to make more mouse pad content. And yeah, as for keyboards, the only thing that really wowed me this year was the Scyrox HM80. Because it just felt better than my Wooting ADHE, and I still like change between them. There's no issues with the ADHE, but yeah, I know there is better Hall effect keyboard experiences to be had on the market. I hear the Venom PCB, there's just nothing like it, so I'm really looking forward to getting one of those. I tried the Made 68 Ultra with 0 dead zone, and I was getting so many like random inputs, my fucking PC blue screen. So yeah, Hall effect keyboards are a very boring market to me. Like, I don't give a shit about the Newfie 65HE, the Mad 60HE. Like, I want to try the best of the best keyboard, but I know people want reviews of the budget stuff. So yeah, maybe I'll review more mouse pads and keyboards in 2025. Let me know what you guys want. That is pretty much all for the seal of approval roundup, except for the monitor, the Sony InZone M10S 480Hz OLED. I've been loving this since I got it. Significant upgrade from 1440p 360Hz IPS. It was on a Christmas sale for $900, but now it's back to the $1,100. If you're going for 480Hz OLED, I'd probably recommend the Asus panel if it's cheaper. The only issue I've really ran into with this is it occasionally reverted to 360Hz. I assume that was like a display stream compression thing, but that hasn't happened to me in like over a month. And yeah, it's just a clean, very good image. I'm satisfied with it. And yeah, that's all I got to say for 2024 peripherals. Hopefully 2025 is a based and shocking year. Jesus Christ. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Peace out.